What is up, Cage Nation? It is Kevin Jackowitz here with the Cage Review, and I'm going to start doing a new section with wrestling, and that is I'm going to start doing a Raw review and a SmackDown review. I'm just testing it out. I don't know if it'll catch on. It's just people honestly just sharing their opinions about wrestling and what they think of the product nowadays and the wrestlers nowadays. And it's going to be fun next week because you're getting the Raw 25th anniversary and you're going to get to look at what I personally think is the best time in wrestling, which is the Attitude Era. And it's just going to be really fun to, kind of compare the Attitude Era versus today's market, which is completely different. You take 1990 something and your storylines had a very slow burn. Sometimes it would take 6 months to a year to finish a storyline, whereas everything nowadays is very instant gratification. Everybody, their attention span is like a squirrel's. I appreciate the slow burns because you get the bigger payoff. I don't like the writing nowadays. I think you have too many hands in the pot, too many ideas, and some of them are just completely garbage, and they get thrown in the mix anyway. The wrestlers themselves, you used to have a character. And unfortunately, they had a period where they got too cartoony with their characters, but they had characters. They had, people you could invest in or hate or, It's just, they don't do that anymore. They really don't invest in character too much. I give all the credit in the world to, like, Breezango, which is a nobody tag team right now, but at least they're trying to develop a character and have something funny. Matt Hardy has a character right now. Bray Wyatt has a character right now, but there's not a lot of character building. And they've switched from character building to kind of developing the entrance. You gotta have a cool entrance nowadays, and in-ring performance. Now here's where I'm kind of middle of the line. I like performance in the ring. I like the high-flying spectacle. I appreciate the athleticism. So I do appreciate guys to get in the ring and put on a good match, whether it's technical, high-flying, whatever. I want it to look good. And I want it to wow me. So I do appreciate the fact that they're doing that, but they're going so far into the having great wrestlers that they're sacrificing having great characters. And there's got to be a fine line there somewhere, because if you don't have good characters, then nobody's invested, nobody cares about the matches. So let's get into my very first Raw review, which was this past Monday, and it was the 15th. 1/15/2018 Raw starts off with Braun Strowman comes out. They just did a bit where they were showing him just wrecking Brock Lesnar and Kane and pulling this barricade that obviously didn't even touch them. And I'm going to start right there, because they're doing these angles with Braun Strowman that are ridiculous. Nobody buys into it, like flipping over a semi-truck. Sorry, no human can do that. It just makes it look stupid and cheesy. You're not making him look like a beast. You're making it look like an overproduced bullshit show. And I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel about it. You're not overselling this guy. You're just making it look campy and cheesy. So, pulling down the barricade, which is clearly inches above the two wrestlers. He's supposed to have done so much damage. Kurt Angle comes out and says, "You could have killed these guys. You're fired." Nobody believed he was fired. Nobody in the audience believed it. You could tell. There were no shocked faces. I'm sitting on my couch like, this is bullshit. Like, you can't make these stupid storylines that no one's going to believe. This is not 1990s where we didn't have the internet and everything was, seen days before it actually happened. If he was fired, we would have probably known about it a long time ago. That being said, they try to continue this angle for the whole show. Like, literally the whole show. You'd have a match or two, come back to Braun Strowman wrecking havoc, throwing shit through Kurt Angle's office, flipping the truck, grabbing Michael Cole and flinging him around, and it was pointless. It was honestly pointless. So Kurt Angle says, "You're fired." He walks out, and then of course Braun Strowman's mad and he starts huffing backstage. So then you move to Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews versus Sheamus and Cesaro. I'm a big fan of Apollo Crews. This guy has got agility like very few people for a guy his size. Just an impressive wrestler. I think he should be further up the roster than he is. He has been barely used at all. Sheamus and Cesaro. I'm kind of torn with this team right now because Sheamus, as much as I really like the guy, and when he was, playing a face, I really did like him. And honestly, I think he does have some cool moves for a guy his size. But he's hurt. He's in a lot of pain. He can't move like he used to, and the match has suffered for it. It's just unfortunate. It's not his fault. It is what it is. But the match was okay. I mean, nothing special to it, but wasn't terrible. And then you get the end. And I don't understand the end. Jason Jordan comes out for no apparent reason. He's supposed to be feuding with Sheamus and Cesaro, but he comes out when I think it was, I want to say Apollo Crews was about to get the big win, and then Jason Jordan comes out. Oh no! I'm sorry. I'm backwards. Cesaro and Sheamus have Apollo Crews set up for the big win, and then Jason Jordan comes out, distracts him, and Apollo gets the win. So didn't really make a whole lot of sense because it looks like they're trying to put Titus and Apollo over now, and so I don't see how them kind of interacting the way they did with Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins, who are the tag champions. It just didn't make sense to me. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that ending. Then you have Tony Nese and Cedric Alexander. Now Enzo Amore comes out with Tony Nese, and Goldust comes out with Cedric Alexander. Now if you don't watch 205 Live, you automatically don't really care, and I don't. So Enzo Amore does his, typical shtick and gets a couple laughs from the audience and says how he's going to beat Cedric Alexander at the Royal Rumble. And then Goldust, who is actually usually very good on the mic, comes up with this lame-ass shtick about how if Enzo Amore was a movie, he'd be straight to DVD, and Cedric Alexander is a blockbuster, and just corny as hell. And the match was forgettable. I think the best thing that I remember from this is Goldust walking up to Enzo and scaring the crap out of him, and then mocking him doing the running man, which was kind of funny. Cedric Alexander picks up the win, no surprise there, and that was the match. And then we come back to Braun Strowman. He's finally done wreaking havoc in the back. He walks back out to the stage. He walks to the announce desk. Booker T kind of trips up Michael Cole. Braun grabs Michael. Kurt Angle rushes over, says, Stephanie McMahon says you're rehired, blah, blah, blah. And someone was talking about this yesterday, and they made mention how they think this might be an angle leading up towards Braun Strowman versus Triple H at WrestleMania. I don't know. It wouldn't make sense after all this damage he supposedly did to automatically just be rehired like that. So maybe that is leading up to a Strowman and Triple H feud. Who knows? If not, this was a pointless segment. And a segment that ran half the show at least. So Then you come to Nia Jax versus Asuka. Huge fan of Asuka. I like her hard-hitting style. Not a fan of Nia Jax at all. I think she's sloppy in the ring. She has proven that time and again. She has injured people. She has almost caused serious injuries to people. I do not like Nia Jax. She's just a big girl that cannot move, and she is dangerous in the ring. That's how I feel. So, they go back and forth. Asuka trying to chop down the big brute. Big brute just flinging her around like she usually does. And getting back to the, sloppiness and the carelessness, there was a moment in the match where Nia Jax picks her up, and instead of slamming her on the mat, she just throws her into the turnbuckle. It was stupid and sloppy. So, I don't appreciate shit like that, because these people are putting their health on the line every day for our entertainment. I don't like it. The match finally ends when Asuka traps her leg in the stairs and she gets hurt, and you see Nia Jax take a bad tumble, and I don't know if that was a work or if that was her actually getting hurt. And I don't want anybody to get hurt in the WWE. I mean, it is dangerous. But if it was a work, it was a very cheap end to the match. It was, a safe way to make sure there was no winner so that both of them could keep looking like badasses. And, hopefully she wasn't actually injured, but it did look like she might have been. And then there was a bit backstage after the match where you have Alexa Bliss and then Enzo Amore comes up, and they're both checking on her to make sure she's okay. And, Alexa gets offended that Enzo's there, and she takes off. And then you move on to the Revival is back, and they take on a couple of absolute nobodies. They fling her around, and actually pretty hard. Like, it was a very, very hard-hitting match. It was felt like one of those initiation matches where, okay, you want to be wrestlers, we're going to show you what it's all about. And the Revival were pretty brutal with these two guys. Squash match. They win. They do a short interview with Charlie in the ring afterwards, and they're talking about, Raw 25 and how they don't really care about any of the older superstars, and they're not entertainers. They're not part of a corporate made look. They are professional wrestlers, and what you see is what you get. And I actually did appreciate that promo. I really liked it, and I really liked the fact that they said we're not entertainers, we're professional wrestlers, because these are two guys that work very hard to being good wrestlers in the ring. I'll give them that. So that was pretty cool. Kind of a better promo from them than I thought I was going to get. And then you come to Elias is next. He comes out. He's singing his, usual shtick, trying to get a rise out of the crowd, and then sings this real short song for The Miz. And then The Miz comes out, and he's talking about how he's made more of an impact, coming back, just being gone 6 weeks, than John Cena or Brock Lesnar. And of course, The Miz Taraj is there, and that leads up to a match with Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas, and a handicap match with Roman Reigns. Anybody who's ever heard me talk about wrestling knows my opinion of Roman Reigns. I don't think he's terrible in the ring. He holds good matches. He is complete garbage on a microphone. He cannot talk. He's never had a good promo. Even that promo with John Cena, he was tripping over his words. He forgot his lines. The fact that he needs lines says a lot right there. So Roman Reigns, no, not a fan. The fact that he can carry himself halfway decent in the ring does not compensate for his inability to convey himself as a character. Sorry, it just doesn't. And they're building him up to be the ultimate badass in this new generation of wrestlers, and he's just failing miserably. The WWE has lost touch with this one. I understand that they're trying to push him and push him hard, but it's just not working. It hasn't been working for the last 5 years. They need to get over it. So, of course, I mean, what do you expect? Roman Reigns wins the handicap match against Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel. It was completely forgettable and pointless. So then you have Sonya Deville versus Sasha Banks. And I really love this match because we all know about the kick heard around the world lately, which is Sasha Banks kicking Paige in the back and giving her just a hell of a whiplash. And then Paige just drops in the middle of the ring, possibly ending her career. And if you saw the video, you knew she was hurt. And now the doctors are saying that she should just be done and that she should not come back to wrestling. So Paige actually comes out with absolution, and Sasha Banks comes out, and I forget what other two girls, Bailey I think, and one of the other ones I forget. But the match was Sonya Deville versus Sasha, and it was almost a squash match. And it was pretty hard hitting because Sonya Deville is a fighter, like an actual fighter. Sasha Banks is a very petite wrestler. Big difference there. And Sonya Deville was landing some hellacious shots. And I almost think that it was payment for what Sasha Banks did to Paige. If you look at that match, there was no quarter given. Deville was just wrecking shop. And Sasha, you could tell she was in pain. And there was a section where, okay, Sasha Banks is finally getting the upper hand. She jumps to the top rope. Sonya Deville kicks her in the stomach on the way down, gets the clean win over Sasha Banks. So that also tells me that there might be something more behind that. I know that's a lot of speculation there, but it just seems to me like that was a message. So then we come to Woken Matt Hardy, which I love the character. I love what they started to do with him. But one of the things that made Broken Matt Hardy so damn good was that it was a very dirty, gritty look. It was darker, it wasn't so polished looking, and WWE is all about production and they don't understand that sometimes. So I'm not necessarily as big a fan of Woken Matt Hardy as I was Broken Matt Hardy. I think he should be used more. I think the fans still react very, very good with this. I think that they need to let go of having such a polished production because this is not a polished character. So those are my thoughts. Another pointless match though, Matt Hardy does what he does and that was great. But he's fighting Heath Slater and everybody knows that Heath Slater ain't gonna do a damn thing. It's this whole let's toughen up Heath Slater bit that they're doing with Slater and Rhino. Don't know where that's going, but I don't really care, and that's the thing. So Matt Hardy wins. No surprise. No big surprises there at all. Then we have the WWE first entrant to the Hall of Fame announcement, which is Bill Goldberg. I already did one post on this. I think it's a great thing. I think it's perfect timing. I did think they might have waited a little bit longer, maybe a year or two, but I like it. I hope he's the head of class. I mean, and he's probably going to be unless they bring The Undertaker in, which I just don't see happening, but, nothing's impossible. But Goldberg in the Hall of Fame, I think that's a win. That comes to the last match, which is Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor. This is a match that was set up earlier in the night with Jason Jordan going up to Kurt Angle and saying, hey, my partner, I think he needs to let out some steam. Let's give him a match with Finn Balor. This was the best match of the night. I mean, Finn Balor and Seth Rollins, go figure. A lot of cool spots. I think the biggest surprise to this was the ending, which was Jason Jordan trips up Finn Balor, and then Seth Rollins hits Finn Balor with a curb stomp, which was a move that was banned for quite a while. So I guess they have unbanned the curb stomp. That was cool. I liked that they brought it back. I think it was a cool move, and I think they need to get over the fact that people are going to try to mimic shit because guess what? people are going to try to mimic this regardless of what you do or say. I understand they're trying to be a little bit more conscientious about that, but at the end of the day, it's not going to really do anything. So that was the entirety of Monday Night Raw. I did not like the Strowman bit whatsoever. The Apollo Titus versus Sheamus Cesaro match, I think the ending was not the greatest. Braun rehired segment was absolute garbage. Tony Nese and Cedric Alexander was forgettable. The Nia Jax Asuka ending was not great. Revival taking on two nobodies. Who cares? Roman Reigns versus Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. I don't care. Sorry, I don't like Roman Reigns. You can shove him down my throat all you want, but it's just not going to affect me in the end. I'm not going to be a Roman Reigns fan. So there were a couple of good matches here. Most of them didn't have much of a point. And this is what I'm saying when you compare like the Attitude Era towards now, because everything had a storyline. You know, there was a burn for everything, a slow burn where you got invested in these characters. You wanted to see the good guys win. You wanted to see the bad guys lose. There's none of that now. Even Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, there wasn't a storyline there. They literally just had that happen that night with nothing to build up to it. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't. Like, the writers aren't even trying, which I think is sad, because you're heading into the Royal Rumble now. You're getting into the road to WrestleMania. This is what's supposed to be the best part of the whole year, and it looked like they weren't giving any care to this whatsoever. I don't know where they're going with most of this. I mean, you have the Women's Royal Rumble coming up. They really didn't do anything as far as building that up with matches. I mean, you had Nia Jax versus Asuka, but that was kind of pointless at the end. You did have some promos from the ladies on Tuesday night, which I thought was kind of trying to build it up, but they needed to do more than what they did, I think. I really do. I think it was pretty bad overall. So I'm really hoping that next Monday they do a much better job. I mean, it's their 25th anniversary. They're pulling in some big names. Unfortunately, I think some of those big names are going to get lost in the mix with some of the other big names that are coming. Like, there are just some people, it's like, really, what are you going to do? What are you going to be able to do? So that is kind of unfortunate. But I am hopeful that it's a much better show than it was this past Monday. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start doing these probably every Monday. I'll see how many views I get and what the reactions are to it. But this is my review of Monday Night Raw, and if I had to give it a 1 out of 10, not good, maybe a 4. So, I mean, that's a sad state of affairs, because I used to love wrestling, and I mean, every show I was so invested in, and yeah, I mean, the product is just not what it was. Anyway, my name is Kevin Jackwitz. If you liked the review, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackwitz. Cage Nation out.
Do it! Just do it! Just do it!